Don't stop. You're under arrest.
You divide my constitutional right! Oh, God, you're tender! I'm at the office!
Monroe County 911.
We need EMS and right. We have CPR in progress.
How long's he been down, do you know?
I do not.
On February 6th, 2025, in a small town in Monroe County, Tennessee, officers were dispatched to a local finance company after a concerned employee called for help. A 74-year-old grandfather had come in to pay a bill, and he could not tell what year it was.
Day is it?
It's 1948, ain't it?
1948? Who's president?
George Washington.
No crime had been committed. No one had been hurt. The dispatcher's message to the responding officers was simple. An elderly man appeared confused, disoriented, and obviously needs medical care. That was it. But by the time that day was over, Elijah Lester Isbel, retired preacher, farmer, father, grandfather, and even great-grandfather, would be dead inside a jail cell, strapped into a restraint chair with a hood pulled over his face, alone, left there by the very deputies and medical staff entrusted with his care. 9 hours. And not a single person in that building did anything to help him.
Monroe County 911.
Let's zip ring over jail. We need EMS and right. We have CPR in progress.
Okay, we'll send him over there. How long's he been down, do you know?
I do not.
What happened that day was captured on camera. Every second of it. And what that footage shows is something no family should ever have to watch. You're watching Hidden Crime Network.
To understand the full weight of what happened that day, you need to know who Lester Isbel actually was. Not just a case number, a person. Elijah Lester Isbel was born and raised right there in Monroe County, Tennessee. For 36 years, he stood at the front of a local church and preached. Not for fame, not for money. He preached because he believed, and because his community needed someone who did. In 2022, he finally stepped back from the pulpit. He was slowing down and he knew it. So he spent his days the way a man like Lester would, working his farm, walking with his cane, and showing up for the people around him. He was a father of 2 daughters, a grandfather to 11 grandchildren, a great-grandfather to 10 great-grandchildren. The kind of man who showed up, the kind of man who stayed. But in his final years, Lester's health had been quietly betraying him. Diabetes, high blood pressure, multiple strokes, and a mild but unmistakable dementia that had begun pulling him away from the present, sometimes back decades, to a world only he could see. His body was failing him, but his family was there. He was cared for. He was loved. He was not a danger to anyone. Then came the phone call that changed everything.
He was at like security finance, and he's a normal customer there, but he started acting disoriented and dropping his money, and about 5. Is there any way somebody can come out here and pick him up?
That call was supposed to bring Lester home safely. Instead, it set everything that followed into motion. On the afternoon of February 6th, 2025, Lester Isbel walked into security finance located on Isbill Road in Madisonville, Tennessee. Same road, same last name, a place that should have felt familiar. But something was wrong. Inside that building, Lester became disoriented and confused. He couldn't stand properly. He was dropping things. The staff recognized him as a regular customer, and they could see immediately that this was not the Lester they knew. At around 12:20 p.m., a concerned security finance employee did what any caring person would do. She picked up the phone.
We have an elderly customer, and he's got health issues, and he's very disorientated right now.
Is he wanting an ambulance?
No, he's not wanting anything. We're afraid to let him drive. He's very disorientated right now. He's 75.
Very confused, disoriented. They don't want an ambulance. They just want an officer to come out there and talk to him, see if they can maybe find the next of kin to take him home. They're not sure if he's got dementia or what's going on with him.
Let that sink in for a second. No crime was reported, no weapon, no threat, just a worried employee calling for someone to help an elderly man get home safely. That was the entire reason those officers were dispatched. About 10 minutes later, officers Cameron Foister and Robert Moore of the Madisonville Police Department arrived at Security Finance. They found Lester sitting in his car, door open, talking to people nearby. They walked up and started asking him questions.
Hey partner, how's it going?
I'm fixing to go get my buddy and then go to...
Okay. Here, let me hold on to this stick for you.
There you go.
That way you don't...
I've got a whole bunch of...
That's fine. Hey, you remember me?
That would have not finished it.
You remember me? You remember Forrester?
His answers trailed off. He couldn't finish his thoughts. So Foister started asking basic questions, the kind you'd ask anyone you suspected was confused.
What day is it?
It's 1948, ain't it?
1948? Who's president?
George Washington.
George Washington? What month is it?
I don't even know what year it is.
You don't know what year it is?
This wasn't a man being difficult. This wasn't a man resisting. This was a man in the middle of a medical episode, and the body cam proves that everyone standing in that parking lot knew it. EMS was called to check his vitals. What they found should have ended the conversation right there. His blood pressure was dangerously high, stroke range. His pulse rate was low. His oxygen levels were low. The medical personnel standing right beside those officers didn't mince words about what they were seeing.
That's not normal. Lester.
They said it out loud, on camera. They knew. And yet, what came next had nothing to do with getting Lester Isbel the medical care he clearly needed.
At 12:57 p.m., nearly 40 minutes after arriving in a welfare check, Officer Foister decided it was time to give Lester Isbel a choice. 3 options: hospital, go home with your daughter, or jail.
You're either having a medical issue, you're under the influence, and that's it. So,
let me go take care of my business.
So, you go to the hospital?
I better go pay for my tires for my
We're not doing that. You have 2 options.
I ain't got no option.
2 options.
Go to jail too.
One or the other.
He was offering ultimatums to a man who thought the year was 1948. Lester told them to leave him alone, to let him go take care of his business. And when Officer Foister demanded he get out of the car, Lester, confused, frightened, and in obvious physical distress, tried to walk away to use the bathroom. The officer stopped him, and right there in that parking lot, in front of multiple people, Lester Isbel urinated on himself. There is no dignity in that moment, and the people who put him in that position knew exactly what they were doing. Foister stepped away and called Lester's daughter. His tone was calm, reassuring, almost friendly.
I think I'm out with your father by chance. Apparently he was at like security finance and he's a normal customer there, but he started acting disoriented and dropping his money and about fell. So we called EMS, but he's not wanting to go to the hospital, but he seems kind of disoriented and he doesn't need to drive. Is there any way somebody can come out here and pick him up? I mean, I've dealt with your dad before. It doesn't seem normal to me how he's acting.
She came immediately, and when she arrived, Foister briefed her on her father's condition, telling her his blood pressure was dangerously high, his heart rate was low, and that he was refusing medical treatment.
Medical or something? It's medical because his blood pressure's high. His blood pressure's really high.
Yeah.
Heart rate's low. He's refusing to go. We can't talk him into going.
Hey,
He says he's not going with you.
Listen, your blood pressure's really high, Dad, and your heart rate's low. It won't hurt to get closed down a little bit.
Are you taking him or no?
Yeah, I'll
Okay.
take him.
All right, we're not dealing with.
She was ready to take him home. It was over. Except it wasn't. The officers told her they just needed one thing first: her signature on a medical refusal form. They explained it was routine. They told her Lester would get his levels checked, that it would only be a couple of hours, and then he would be free to go.
All they want to do is take you out and then let you go. They're going to get your levels and that's it. You're looking at just a couple hours, and then you'll be ready to go.
She believed them. She signed. The moment that pen left the paper, handcuffs went on her father.
Don't fall. You're under arrest.
Oh, you hit with stormtroopers or something? Come on, get up here. You hurt my arm. Quit. I'm going to get picked to go up there alone.
Lester Isbel had committed no crime. The officers had no probable cause. Their own body cam recorded them acknowledging his medical condition from the beginning. And yet at 1:18 p.m., exactly 58 minutes after arriving to help him,
They loaded a confused, frightened, medically distressed 74-year-old grandfather into the back of a police car and drove away. The charge? Disorderly conduct, a Class C misdemeanor.
And maybe you guys know who to contact first, some kind of mental crisis people or anything?
I'll let the jail know and see if they can't contact mobile crisis or something like that.
You divide my constitutional right, freedom of speech, and the pursuit of evidence. Oh, God. I got to go get my tires for my tractor so I can use it at home. Please. It's a Maris Ferguson 1965. All right, my dear grandson, tell me style, because he got to tell me straight.
He wasn't raging. He wasn't threatening anyone. He was a confused old man calling out for his family in the back of a police car, headed to a place that would kill him. Just a quick one. Tell me in the comments, if you were his daughter in that parking lot, what would you have done? Would you have signed that form? Like and subscribe if you haven't, as we move to the worst part of this case.
At 1:27 p.m., the patrol car rolled into the Monroe County Jail Sallyport and came to a stop. The ride was over. The real nightmare was just beginning. When that car door opened, what the jail received was not a criminal. It was a 74-year-old man in the middle of a medical crisis, confused, frightened, and completely unable to understand where he was or why he was there. Officer Foister walked him inside and gave jail staff his assessment. He told them Lester was disorderly, that he had resisted a little bit, that he was, quote, kind of loud and mouthy. That is not what the body cam showed, but that is what went into the record.
Wait a minute. Why did you go out? Wait a minute. Oh, God, you're tender. I'm at the office. Oh, please.
Now here is something critical to understand about TK Health, the for-profit Oklahoma-based medical company contracted to provide care to inmates inside that jail. They were not meeting Lester Isbel for the first time. Months earlier, Lester had been brought into this same facility on a DUI charge, a charge later dismissed for lack of probable cause. During that stay, TK Health had treated him completely differently. They evaluated him for a psychological episode and chest pains. They placed him in a padded cell, booking cell BK10, designed specifically for vulnerable inmates. They took his condition seriously. They had a record. They knew who he was. They knew what he needed. This time, they did nothing.
At 1:38 p.m., correctional officers forcibly carried Lester from the Sallyport and placed him into booking cell BK13, not the padded cell. They removed his belt, shoes, socks, and watch, and left him there alone. 4 minutes later, at 1:42 p.m., Lester stood up and began walking slowly along the wall toward the cell door. As he turned to walk away, he lost his balance. He hit that bench face first. The force of the impact caused visible injuries to his head and head. He lay there on the floor, a man who had already been in stroke-range medical distress for over an hour. LPN Courtney Woods, the licensed practical nurse employed by TK Health and legally responsible for Lester's care, was present. She did not assess him. She did not check his head injury. She did not take his vitals. She did not do a single thing. Instead, at 1:50 p.m., 8 minutes after that fall, Lester's pants were removed, and Elijah Lester Isbel was forcibly strapped into a restraint chair. Chest, waist, arms, legs, completely immobilized in a seated position. An hour earlier, his blood pressure was in stroke range. His oxygen levels were low. His pulse was low. Medical personnel had said it out loud, on camera, that his condition was medical. And now he was strapped into a chair, unable to stand, unable to lie down, unable to move. The restraint chair manufacturer's own guidelines are explicit, maximum 2 hours, and that warning assumes the inmate is not already experiencing a medical emergency. Lester Isbel was. And yet they didn't stop there.
1:50 p.m. The chair is locked. The clock is running. They positioned it facing away from the cell door, so Lester's face couldn't be seen by anyone walking past. By 2:50 p.m., 1 hour in, Lester had not been given water. He had not been allowed to use the bathroom. Nobody had checked his vitals. He remained visibly and audibly distressed, shifting and writhing against the straps.
Courtney Woods was still on shift. She did not check on him. By 3:50 p.m., 2 hours in, his extremities were visibly discolored. He was unable to reposition himself. And then a spit hood was pulled over his head and face, covering him completely. Then, according to the federal lawsuit, Courtney Woods and other staff members stood around him while he sat there hooded, discolored, and suffering, and laughed. Let that image sit with you.
A 74-year-old retired preacher, a grandfather of 11, strapped into a chair, a hood pulled over his face, struggling to breathe, and the people paid to care for him thought it was funny.
By 4:50 p.m., 3 hours in, the manufacturer's maximum limit had been exceeded by a full hour. All this time, restrained in the chair, hooded, with no water, no bathroom breaks, and no vital checks carried out. The only thing that had changed was that his condition was getting worse. His movements against those restraints were never aggression. They were desperation. He was shifting, twisting, and jerking in the only language his body had left, begging for air, for circulation, for someone to notice him. Nobody did. By 40 p.m., 4 hours in, Courtney Woods' shift was nearly over. She had been present for every single one of those 4 hours. She had not once performed an adequate medical assessment of Lester Isbel, not once checked his vitals, not once intervened in any meaningful way. At 6 p.m., she ended her shift and went home. She left him exactly where she found him, just like that.
At 6 p.m., LPN Greg Mills began his shift. He was told, directly, that Lester had already been in that chair for over 4 continuous hours. Mills did not assess him, did not check his vitals, did not remove him. He simply accepted what he walked into and moved on. 6:50 p.m., 5 hours. Nobody moves. 7:50 p.m., 6 hours. Nothing. 8:50 p.m., 7 hours. Still in the chair. And somewhere in those hours, one of the jail employees walked past the surveillance camera and gave it the middle finger. That one image tells you everything about the culture inside that building that night. 9:50 p.m., 8 hours. 10:50 p.m., 9 hours. Somewhere across town, Lester's family was still waiting. They were told he'd be home in a couple of hours. His daughters, his grandchildren, they had no idea.
If this story is hitting you deep the way it's hitting me, share it so more people find and learn from it. Throughout his entire shift, Greg Mills would later file a report claiming he had checked Lester's vitals. The surveillance footage proved he never did. And then, at approximately 11 p.m., Lester Isbel stopped breathing.
Deputies realized Lester was unresponsive. They pulled him out of the chair, 9 hours and counting after they first strapped him in.
Monroe County 911.
This is Zip Regnal Jail. We need EMS and right, we have CPR in progress.
Okay, we'll send him over there. How long's he been down, do you know?
I do not.
He was transported to the hospital. Elijah Lester Isbill was pronounced dead on February 7th, 2025. The initial autopsy listed the cause of death as natural causes. Sheriff Tommy Jones immediately used that finding to defend his staff, pointing the finger entirely at TK Health and their nurses, while insisting his deputies had done nothing wrong. Then came the officer's post-arrest narrative that Lester had been acting the way he did because he was on something, that the arrest was justified, that everything was handled appropriately. Lie number 1. The body cam footage showed them acknowledging a medical emergency from the moment they arrived. The medical personnel said it to their faces. It's medical, his blood pressure. The officers repeated it themselves. He's in stroke range. The arrest had no probable cause, and they knew it. Then came Greg Mills' official report, filed after Lester's death, claiming he had monitored Lester's vitals throughout his shift. Lie number 2. The surveillance footage showed 9 hours of footage in which Mills performed no adequate medical assessment of Lester Isbel, not once. Both lies collapsed under the weight of what was on camera. And then, in August 2025, the Knox County Forensic Center amended the autopsy. The new ruling, homicide. Contributing factors, dehydration and prolonged restraint in a restraint chair.
We begin with breaking news tied to the death of a man in Monroe County held for hours in a jail restraint chair. Lester Isbel died back in February after deputies took him into custody in Monroe County. Today, a grand jury indicted 7 people for their role in that 74-year-old former pastor's death and his confinement.
10 News anchor Shay Smith and investigative producer John North have been gathering records and reporting on Lester Isbell's story for months now. Shay joining us now with the latest details. Shay.
Robin and John, this is the presentment that we received late this afternoon after the indictments for 7 people came down. Now, those facing charges are nurses Courtney Woods and Greg Mills, and correction officers former Corporal Jaron Henry, former Corporal Elijah Spencer, Tyler Finger, Tommy Reagan, and Sergeant Joshua Duncan. Now, these arrests come after the February death of retired preacher Lester Isbel. Isbel's autopsy originally said he died of natural causes, but on August 21st, the Knox County Forensic Center took the rare step of amending his autopsy to classify his death as a homicide.
Shay, thank you.
On September 3rd, 2025, a Monroe County grand jury handed down indictments. 5 jail deputies, Joshua Duncan, Jaron Henry, Tyler Finger, Elijah Spencer, and Tommy Reagan, were each charged with official misconduct. LPN Courtney Woods, the nurse who laughed, was charged with criminally negligent homicide. LPN Greg Mills, the nurse who lied, was charged with filing false reports. 7 people, all indicted, all facing charges directly tied to what happened to Lester Isbel inside that jail. But Sheriff Tommy Jones, the man who defended his staff publicly, the man who said his deputies did nothing criminal, the man whose department's conduct cost Monroe County $1.9 million in a settlement with Lester's family, was not among them. The grand jury declined to indict him. He still holds his office. Then, on February 6, 2026, exactly 1 year to the day after Lester was arrested, his family filed a federal civil rights lawsuit in U.S. District Court in Knoxville. The defendants named the City of Madisonville, Officers Cameron Foister and Robert Moore, TK Health, nurses Courtney Woods, Greg Mills, and Donna Chisholm. The claims are clear: false arrest, deliberate indifference to serious medical need, and a constitutional failure at every single level of that system. As of today, all criminal cases are still pending. No trials have occurred. The federal lawsuit is still in its earliest stages. The courtroom chapter of Lester Isbel's story is still being written.
Lester Isbel preached for 36 years. He raised daughters. He held grandchildren and great-grandchildren. He worked his farm. He walked with a cane. And on the morning of February 6, 2025, he got in his car to pay a bill and never came home. Think about that for a moment. No crime, no weapon, no threat, just a confused elderly man who needed help. And every single person in that chain, the arresting officers, the jail deputies, the nurses with medical licenses and legal obligations, failed him. Not one of them did the right thing, not one. This was not a story about one bad actor. It was a system-wide failure. And the most terrifying part? It could happen to anyone's father, anyone's grandfather, anyone's parent living with dementia or diabetes or high blood pressure, which is to say, it could happen to almost any elderly person in this country. The criminal cases are still pending. The federal lawsuit is still in its early stages, and Sheriff Tommy Jones, the man who defended what happened inside that jail, still holds his office. Whether full justice comes for Lester Isbel, we will have to wait and see. But one thing is already certain: his name will not be forgotten. Now, I want to hear from you. Drop a comment and tell me, do you think the people who did this will actually face real consequences, or will the system protect its own the way it always does? If this story moved you, share it, not for the algorithm, but because Lester's family deserves for the world to know his name. Subscribe to Hidden Prime Network so you don't miss the update when these cases finally go to trial. Until next time, Usually I have one or two to say, but for this case, I'm dumbfounded. The cops are supposed to be our trusted party, but with this, what do they expect from the people? To keep trusting them? I just don't know. Stay safe, stay wise, and thank you for joining us today. See you in the next story from Hidden Crime Network. Bye for now.